another episode. Listen, I have one quick question for you to start. Have you ever read the book of Joshua? Such a very, very interesting book. It's like right at the beginning, chapter 1, and you find God talking. God is talking. And what is he doing? He's choosing someone, right? He's choosing someone to put to work. You see, before we get to the book of Joshua, you find Moses leading the people of God to the promised land, right? But he died. Deuteronomy 34, he died. So now God, after the death of Moses, is appointing Joshua to continue leading his people to the promised land, right? Because that's who he is. He's a promise keeper, so he has to find someone else to put in charge of leading his people. Just because Moses is dead does not mean God's plan has stopped. No, it's gonna keep going with or without Moses, right? So in commissioning Joshua, God made him some specific and personal promises. Okay, when you read Joshua 1 verse 5, for example, you see God made him 3 promises. He told him that I will be with you. I will never leave you, and then I will never forsake you. Okay, basically the same stuff he told Moses. So now he's telling Joshua the same thing. Okay, so that's very good. I mean, if I were Joshua, I'll be happy to hear that. So God also is encouraging Joshua, saying in verse 6 and 7, be strong and courageous. Now again, if you read Joshua 1, you see that God said this to Joshua 4 times. 4 times in one chapter. He said, be strong and courageous. So finally, in verse 9, God lays it all out for Joshua. Listen to what he said to Joshua. Let me read it for you. He said, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So you see, Joshua, like I said, was handpicked by God to continue leading God's people to the promised land. Believe it or not, your pastor and mine were chosen and commissioned by God. Now, I know what you're thinking. Not all pastors were chosen by God. I know that, but that's a discussion for another time. Okay, but your pastor and mine were chosen and commissioned by God, right? So for this reason, they are constantly on the front line fighting, not just for themselves, but also for us, the people, in whom they're in charge, or for whom, they're in charge of us. So they're constantly fighting on our behalf. Joshua had the Israelites to bring to the promised land. Your pastor and mine, they also have us to bring to a promised land, correct? They are responsible to God and also to other human beings for everything that happened inside the church. That's a heavy, heavy load to carry. I don't know if you ever take time to think about that. That's a heavy load to carry. So I know that if they were indeed chosen by God, the same promise God made to Joshua also apply to them, right? Like, I will never leave you. I will never abandon you. I will always be with you. I will never forsaken you. So those same promises, your pastor and mine can claim those, can cling to those promises as well, right? But at the same time, it doesn't hurt for us, right, you and me, to come alongside of them to help them, right? Sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes your pastor and my pastor, they need to hear some words of encouragement from us, not grumbling all the time like some of us do, okay? So 3 things I want you to do today. Number 1, I want you to reach out to your pastor and let him know you're praying for him, okay? And you're asking God to strengthen him. That's number 1. Number 2, in your prayer for your pastor, ask God to bless him with wisdom, with patience, and obedience. Those are three things that your pastor needs, our pastors. They need wisdom, patience, and obedience. So when you're praying, ask God for those three things. And lastly, pray for the people inside your church, including yourself, asking God to help them support the ministry of the pastor. Okay? Remember, your pastor needs you. So come alongside of him and see, how you can be a blessing to him. All right? Until then, have a blessed day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.